KSAP Beats.
All right, it's time to get wired in. Let's talk about software development and a little bit of code, I guess. So, welcome to another episode. I think this is like the 16th one. Trying to get better with consistency. I'm trying. Just bear with me. It's difficult when you're doing a lot on your own, as pretty much what I'm going to talk about today. First, let me start off by saying I noticed that Microsoft kind of changed the store a little bit with the categories. They removed the apps category. I think they just have gaming, productivity, entertainment. I don't know how that's going to help users find your app, but I just hope they improve the store so us indie developers have a chance to have our apps discovered by over 800 million Windows 10 users. I mean, I don't know. I just hope they continue to improve the store, which I think they will. So, what am I going to talk about today? I think it was, I forget which episode it was, but I talked about independent software engineer. I guess the life as an independent software engineer. There's probably like so many videos on YouTube where people give you their experience, which is great. It's great to hear other people give their experience. If you're thinking about just pursuing this full time, there's pros and cons. It's a big risk. And it's different because everything falls on you and time management becomes important. But, I was researching over the weekend and I came across two articles from entrepreneur.com, and they're old. One came out in 2013 and the other was 2015. But I decided I wanted to talk about these two articles because, things have changed a lot. The landscape of development has changed. The approach to starting an app business is changed somewhat. But a lot of the suggestions in these articles are still relevant today, and I kind of want to go through some of the talking points. And I'll post the links in the description of this episode so you can reference them or look at them yourself, and maybe you'll get something different out of it. So first I'm going to talk about a beginner's guide to starting and marketing an app. Now, this is not necessarily saying starting a business. I think this article mostly just talks about just promoting your app. But if you're a software company and you are publishing apps, then I think you want to know how to market your app and how to get started, right? Makes sense. So his first point: I have many app ideas. Which one should I pursue? That's a good question, right? Most successful entrepreneurs have built their business through multiple ideas, so don't limit yourself to a single app idea. Building an app is like aiming to release a hit single in the music industry. You generally never know which single will make it. Give each app 4 to 6 months after the launch. And if you don't see a growing user base by then, move on to the next idea. I agree with that 100%. A lot of people will say, well, this app is going to be the hit. Or, I have friends or family say, well, that app is going to be a hit. You really don't know what's going to be a hit app. And what I've learned as a software developer, you don't look at it like that. I don't look at it that way. I don't look at which app is going to be the hit or where I can make a lot of money. I look at what's going to be a hit to solve the problem, not necessarily just all about money. Because if you just think about it being a big hit, you're going to lose motivation if you don't see results. And I like the analogy comparing it to releasing a hit single in the music industry. So I think you should have a spreadsheet with a list of app ideas, and you should prioritize which ideas you think are more important, and do research, but we'll get into that. Next question. I have an app idea, but where do I start? Start putting your idea down on paper as clearly as possible. Look for prototyping tools on the internet and create a detailed screen-by-screen mock-up or wireframe of your app. Once you're clear about your requirements, seek out a company that can design and develop it for you. Now, this is talking about a person that has an app idea, and clearly they're not a software developer. So, to people who are not software developers, who don't write code, if you have an idea, make sure you have it written on paper. Make sure you're organized, you have a structure to where anyone can understand it, because a lot of people come to me, hey, I have this idea, and they're coming at you like 100 miles per hour. They're throwing like so many fastballs at you, and you're just like, wait a minute. And it can be overwhelming, and then they don't have it written down, and they think you can just code it overnight, and it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So to those who are not software developers and you have an app idea, take your time, write it down, get a prototype mock-ups, get really detailed on the functionality, and I think you'll be fine. How do I know whether the customer wants my app? That's a really good question. Get to the market fast with the prototype. Don't wait to create a complete app with all the features. Minimum viable product. Build the app's core features. I've mentioned this a lot. Building an MVP product. And see if the customer is ready to buy. If they do, you'll receive a lot of important feedback from your paying customers. Exactly. So when you launch an app, you're never gonna it's never gonna be perfect. You're always going to get feedback from users. Here's a prime example of this. So if you're a gamer, I play WWE 2K games every now and then when I have time. So recently, Yuke's, it was announced they were no longer developing games, working on the 2K franchise, right? WWE 2K franchise. So Visual Concepts, they also developed NBA 2K, basically built everything from scratch. Now, from looking at some of the reviews and some of the screenshots, it might look like a step backwards. But to be fair, they're building this from the ground up, and it may seem rushed, but deadlines. They've been working on this for months and months. So now what they're doing, it's coming out tomorrow, and some features are missing, but I forget which feature. I think Create a Custom Belt is missing, and I think one of the developers said that they'll release that feature at a later date. But the point is, they want to get the game out there, and they want to get feedback, and they may get negative reviews for this game, but I think the game will get better next year because of the feedback they receive. So don't get discouraged about, getting negative feedback for your apps. Just improve, but just get something out there for customers to use so you can know what they want. Should I build a mobile website or native app? This is a really good question. Now, people are leaning more towards a mobile website, which is a progressive web app, which kind of function that has native features. So it depends. Depends on the use case, right? Depends. If let's say you're building an app for I don't know, a restaurant. It might not necessarily need a native app anymore and go through all the stores. You can just build a progressive web app now. Next question. Should we build the app in-house or outsource? Again, that depends. If you're... Depends how much money your budget. It might be easier to outsource the app. If you're not developing this yourself, outsourcing is probably the best route. Outsource it to me. I'll build it. How do I submit an app to the Apple App Store or Android market, and then I'll add the Microsoft market? Create developer accounts with Apple and Google by registering through their websites and paying the annual App Store fee of $99 for Apple and $25 for Google. But, you know, if you pay $25 with Google, it's forever. You don't have to pay annually. And you can also sign up for a developer account at Microsoft at developer.microsoft.com, I believe. I had to think about that because I see this site every day. I think it's developer.microsoft.com, and you can just create an account. And I think it's $19 or $20. It's been a while since I purchased an account because I've had a license because I've had one for so long. But that's a lifetime fee, and I think the return on investment will pay off in the long run because that's another platform to distribute applications, desktop applications. Should I offer my application as free and then figure out how to make money later? That's a tough question. So when you're developing let me read what he says. There's a 1 in a million chance, maybe even less, that you could be the next Facebook or Twitter. The choice is yours. If you want to build a business, I believe it's important to have a clear monetization strategy from the get-go. That's exactly what I was going to get to. He pretty much nailed it. Most people, when they build an app, I'm going to be the next Facebook, the next Google. Don't be the next Facebook. Be the first you. And you have to look at the use case scenario. So here's an example where ads would be appropriate. Let's say I create a finance calculator app and people will use it every day, right? If it's used every day, I think placing an ad, I can generate some good revenue because ads are displaying every day. Now let's say I have 500,000 users using my app every day. I probably would generate, I'm just guessing here, probably about close to 5,000 a month. And I know it's like a lot of users, but you're only generating 5,000. But if you have multiple apps, generating that kind of revenue, you can be pretty successful. So you have to figure out the use case. If you have games, in-app purchases, there's a lot of different ways now. Subscription model, that's becoming popular. So you have to figure it out. You should figure that out in the early stages of development. I've built my app. Now what? Products don't sell themselves. You need to go straight to the customer and make it easy for them to access the item. It's the same for an app. While App Store optimization can help you a great deal in your ability to be discovered, it is not enough to get significant traction for your app to make it a sustainable business. You need to market your app to get visibility. There's a lot of ways to market your app. Social media, podcasting, YouTube, which is social media, word of mouth. You just have to really put some time into marketing. Next question, how do I market my app? I think I just answered that. The best form of publicity for your application, as for any business, is a third-party endorsement, reviews from tech bloggers, press coverage, and word of mouth are all great avenues. So yes, I think if you can reach out to tech reviewers and bloggers, that's another way to get your app out there. But it depends. Nowadays, you have to pay them to review your app. You might have to pay like a couple $100. Some will do it for free, but I know a lot of them, they charge. So be prepared to pay. Should I create a cross-platform app? Cross-platform apps seldom offer rich experiences for users because they're often riddled with bugs, and it's difficult to offer consistent experience across platforms. There's a reason why there are different coding languages for different platforms, which have their own software development kits, SDKs. Well, I think this was in 2013. I think a lot of the cross-platform tools have matured, such as Xamarin. So again, it depends on the use case. If you're building an app for an organization, or if you're an organization looking for an app, I think cross-platform tools will work for you because you don't have to worry about hiring developers based, who have different skills. Like, you don't have to hire a Java or Kotlin developer or Objective-C or Swift developer or a C# developer. If you have C# developers, they can just learn Xamarin. If you have people who know JavaScript, they could build a progressive web app with Angular or React. So the cross-platform tooling has matured over the years. How much does it cost to develop an app? The guy says between $3,000 to $100,000. Again, that depends on the app. What if my app doesn't work? Like many business ideas, many app ideas are non-starters. Successful people make terrible decisions all the time, but they also get right back up and try other pursuits with fresh learning from their failures. More on to the next app idea if current one doesn't get results. So you just have to keep trying, just keep trying. Like, this person used the music, trying to make a hit record in the music industry. You have a lot of artists, they may write like hundreds of songs until they get that one hit. So you just have to keep going. So, the next and final article, 15 tips for succeeding as an independent app developer. This was written in 2015. So, I'll go through this pretty quick because it's pretty much similar. Number 1, study the bad apps. That's true. You want to look at the apps that are not doing well and learn from them, and don't replicate the same mistakes that they have. Increase output, decrease time. Focus on creating simple apps that can be published in roughly 6 to 8 weeks. This allows you to test many different ideas and create a portfolio of apps, which in turn will increase your likelihood of success. Exactly. So if you're a developer or even a company, focus on releasing simple apps. Don't try to work on an app that'll take you a year or two to make, unless you have the kind of money to do that, to spend. But generally, 6 to 8 weeks, release a minimum viable product, get a portfolio of apps, and you'll always have something to do. From experience, I have a lot of apps in the Play Store and the Microsoft Store. I have to constantly make changes to these apps, so I'm always busy. Design is everything. That is true. Make sure you have a clean, design. Make sure it looks good. People want to use it. It's easy to use. Build something you are passionate about. This is my favorite tip. Build something that you want to solve with such immense conviction that the energy that you put into it will shine through and start the early traction and positive reviews. So if you're not passionate about what you want to build, it's probably not going to be a successful app. A lot of people might have app ideas, but they're not really passionate about it. It's just a good idea. But if it's something you're really passionate about, go for it. And plus, it's fun. It's always fun going through the process of creating apps. So, like, I could create a lot of apps myself, but if I'm not passionate about that app, about that idea, why would I create it? It's just a waste of time. Then it becomes work. I believe when you're passionate about it, it's not work. Number 5, invalidate your idea. Basically saying don't fall in love with it. It kind of sounds contradicting, but basically don't get so caught up to where you can't move on to the next. That's what I get from that. Invalidate your idea. Create something simple. Number 6. It's important to get ease of use just right and have the app do things that will simply delight users. Your goal is an app you can hand to someone who has no clue what the software does, but within seconds they figure out how it works. Exactly. Enough said. Be persistent. The most notable successes took at least 10 years. They weren't overnight achievements. Be passionate about what you are making. Stay persistent and continually learn with each new version, update each new app published. I just said, it kind of goes in hand with build something that you're passionate about. If you're not, I'll give you one of my apps. My basketball playbook, that was created out of passion. I like basketball. And I'll probably do a podcast going in detail about that app. And that was a fun app for me to develop, and it's still growing. It's one of my most successful apps in the Microsoft Store. I didn't expect it to be. I just did it because I said, hey, there's not an app in the Microsoft Store. Then I've expanded it to other platforms. It's on Android, and I'm working on new features as we speak. But I'll go into detail on that episode. But I still have goals for a lot of my apps that are not quote-unquote successful financially, I guess. But I'm going to keep being persistent, and you should too. Don't seek investment. Don't seek out investors. I guess that depends on the app. But if you're an indie developer, I don't think you really need investors nowadays. You have all the tools just to build the app. Find a technical partner. It's all about having the same room with you. I agree with that. I totally agree. See, for me, I'm working on my own, but it would help if I had a partner because then I can delegate certain tasks. So if you're an indie developer and you have friends, choose friends who are also passionate about software development, because you'll be wasting your time if you're around people who can't really help you. So, telling you from experience, if I had a couple friends, let's say if I had 5 friends or 4 friends to create a small team, we put out so much to get done. Even if they're not coders, but people that just are into business. Like, find someone that can focus on marketing, focus on accounting, focus on development, focus on, you need a core team. So not just a technical partner, but just having a team if you're starting a business. Number 10 is not too late. Focus on solving the problem, designing the solution well, and somehow making someone's day more enjoyable or easier. That's always the goal. Do one thing well. Focus on doing one thing really, really well. Make sure that one thing is substantial and meaningful to a lot of people. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Don't try to solve a problem that doesn't exist for real. Exactly. Don't overlook distribution. Distribution is a big challenge for any app. You can build a phenomenal product but still have difficulty getting it to users. Figure out where your users are and get in front of them. Be clear about your goals. Let's see, 14, just start. And 15, believe in your idea. And the reason why I didn't go into detail, because those are similar talking points in the last article, and I didn't want to repeat myself. So there you have it. Like I said, some things have changed over the years, especially with the cross-platform development. Like I said, it's matured a lot. Back in about 5-6 years ago, people were using PhoneGap or Cordova, and I don't think Xamarin was open source at the time. So you have to pay to use Xamarin, and so I think that's changed. And building a mobile website or a native app, it all depends on the use case. Native apps, if you need device features, if you need to really tap into the operating system, push notifications, you can do that with PWAs now. So location based, you can do that with PWAs. So you don't have to go the native route. Now you have so many options on how you can create an app. But that's what's changed. That's really what's changed. Is how do you want to create the app? Because customers don't care if you're building using cross-platform tools or native tools. They just want it in their hands, and they just want it to work. So there you have it. I enjoyed actually doing this. I might do this often. I might find articles and just really dissect them, go over them, and this is actually pretty fun. These are not long articles, so, and plus I don't want to sit here for an hour just reading something you can read yourself. I mean, I read quite a bit, but I kind of summarized each talking point, and I'll post the links so you can read them yourself. And maybe it's something you can reference. Maybe you may feel discouraged, and you can look at some of the talking points in these articles. I might do another episode like this, even for people who are not coders, people who just don't really understand the app business. I think it's good for people who are not really technical, hear from technical people what we look for, and how to be prepared to approach someone with an idea. That's become a common issue. Like I said, people are always approaching me, hey, I have an app idea, I have an app idea, I have an app idea. And their ideas are good ideas, but I don't have the time and the money. And a lot of times people that come in with these ideas, they don't have the money to really pay for me to really execute their idea. So they want me to build it for free on good faith and hope that it makes a lot of money. It's going to be a big hit, but it doesn't work that way. So if you have an idea that is going to take some time, you want to make sure you either have the money, the resources to do so, or you might want to see how can I break this down into small modules and create a minimal viable product just to get something out and keep building on it. You look at Facebook over the years, Facebook started out really simple, and then over the years, going through different iterations, they implemented new features, and it's still expanding. They're still changing the design. They're always changing. They're always working on it. And that's for any good software. So even when you do have that big hit, it doesn't stop. It's just beginning. You have to make sure you even improve and get better, because you want people to continue to use your Windows 10 notifications are going on, which are kind of annoying. I should have turned these off. But that's it for this episode. And if you're an indie dev, keep pushing, stay focused, stay wired in. Don't let anyone tell you you can't or you shouldn't do it. If you're thinking about doing it, don't second guess yourself. If you're working a job and you're like, how do I have the time? Just give yourself at least an hour every night, an hour or two when you're done working, or on the weekends, sacrifice and really work on your idea, work on building apps. You can make money on the side, but make sure if you're doing that you're not violating the terms with your current employer, because a lot of them make you sign a non-disclosure agreement. Not a non-disclosure, but a non-compete clause. So basically, if you build something, they get credit for it. You don't want that to happen to you. So that's it. You can follow me on Instagram at Appavelli, Twitter at Appavelli. You want to look at my portfolio of apps, pragmaticdevsolutions.com, Pragmatic Dev Solutions on Facebook. And that's it for this episode. And I am out.